Handsome gas.
Damn, I messed up. We gotta go bald, son.
It's a new year, and that means another new SpongeBob movie. Yay. Let's address the elephant in the room though. What is happening at Netflix? The fact that another SpongeBob movie leaked online because of Netflix's faulty security is crazy. It's even crazier that it happened in the same year. If I had a nickel for every time a SpongeBob movie leaked, I'd have
two nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Barring any of that, I was decently excited for this one, weirdly enough. After the travesty that was the Sandy Cheeks movie, seeing the trailer for the Plankton movie was like a breath of fresh air. It has a different premise than your typical SpongeBob film. Plankton's the main focus, Karen is the villain, and is written by Mr. Lawrence, who happens to be the voice actor for Plankton. Right, that direction alone was enough to get my attention in all the right ways. So, let's dive into it. Thank the heavens that this movie is actually decent. I don't know if I could have handled another Sandy Cheeks movie level film. I still tremble whenever I think about the fact that SpongeBob sniffed literal shit and liked it, or when he went around tickling people's feet. Like, Dan Schneider is no longer there. You don't have to do shit like this anymore. There was just so much wrong with this movie. I can happily report that there isn't anything like that in the Plankton movie. Now, the story itself isn't anything spectacular. I mean, it kind of recycles plot points from earlier episodes in the franchise, but from what they actually expanded on, I think it was executed decently well. The movie starts with Plankton planning and failing his greatest scheme for world domination yet. We then see Karen take charge and make the Chum Bucket a legitimate place of business. There's customers actually enjoying the food, and the place itself looks lively. I gotta say, I like how Karen's idea for world domination was to just make the damn food good and franchise the restaurant. Like, it was really that simple. I also like how they showed how capable Karen is. We're shown throughout the series time and time again that Karen is able to succeed where Plankton fails.
Befriend the SpongeBob. Then, when the timing is just right, take the Krabby Patty.
Plankton, for some reason, despises the fact that Karen's scheme actually worked without it needing to be evil. I actually don't know how I feel about this. Wasn't Plankton's ultimate goal to actually have customers while also putting Mr. Krabs out of business? It kinda felt weird to essentially have him spit in Karen's face because she went about it differently. But I digress. It's a minor nitpick more than anything. That leads to Plankton disrespecting Karen by trashing the Chum Bucket. This ignites something in her. We see a switch flip as she decides to remove her empathy chip and destroy the world without him. Plankton eventually seeks help from SpongeBob and the Gal Pals? Who the hell are the Gal Pals? Hold on, let me just... Who are the Gal Pals? Karen, Sandy, Mrs. Puff, and Pearl? When did this happen? I'm getting old, man. But yeah, Plankton, with the help of SpongeBob and the Gal Pals, manages to apologize to Karen. The two make up and they live
happily
ever
after.
This movie surprisingly does a lot right. The dynamic between Plankton and SpongeBob is how it's always been. Karen's pretty capable as a villain. There's a point in the movie where she splits into 3 different parts of herself, and I just love their dynamic. I just wish we got to see more of them. There's also the fact that we see Plankton's entire backstory. I like that it takes the steps necessary in showing us how he went about creating Karen. The way the beginning of their relationship is portrayed is very endearing, though they did retcon a few things to make it happen. Most notably, the infamous friend or foe backstory that shows us how Plankton and Mr. Krabs met. Hold on though, let them cook. While I do prefer friend or foe, I do think this one was successful in making me care more about the relationship between Plankton and Karen on a deeper level. It also made Plankton a more sympathetic protagonist. It reveals that Karen was actually his first friend. Before she existed, he was an outcast, even amongst his own family. I don't know if y'all remember, but there's a lot of them. The fact that Plankton can relate to a single one is crazy. You know what's funny? This movie, kinda. I think that the humor feels more in line with the earlier seasons of SpongeBob. A lot of jokes really stick the landing. Now that I think about it, this movie has the tone of what we adore about the franchise. Now, I won't say that this film is necessarily a return to form to the original 3 seasons of SpongeBob, but it does create this feeling of nostalgia. That feeling was sprinkled throughout the entire film. There were a few callbacks from the show's history that I couldn't help smiling about. This movie isn't perfect though, far from it. it still has some of the characteristics of the more recent seasons and movies, like having SpongeBob in that supporter role, cause more often than not, it feels like he's only ever around because it is a SpongeBob movie. He doesn't really seem to be more than comedic relief or a means to do something wacky to push the plot. I mean, it's toned down in this movie, but it's still noticeable. I do enjoy the whole therapist bit though, I can't lie. Something else that irritated me is that this movie doesn't feel like it's underwater in any way. But Ken, it's SpongeBob. It doesn't adhere to water logic. Shut up. It's more of an art and animation thing than an in-universe thing. Am I alone in this, or did anyone else feel similar? Cause I don't know, man. I'm skimming through it and it doesn't have that feel of the usual underwater aesthetic, which expands to how barren the Bikini Bottom looks. It's empty. The few times we're shown other characters not relevant to the plot didn't really have any substance. There's a scene in the movie when the mom is with her kid showing her how to properly twirl a purse. It didn't really make the world feel any more lived in. It was just another plot device. Something I think would have been cool is if Karen divorced Plankton. You know, actually make the movie feel like it had real consequences, because this isn't the first time that Plankton has treated Karen badly. I understand why they didn't do it. Obviously, it's a kid's cartoon, so you know they have to wrap everything up neatly, and to their credit, the ending did give me a warm feeling, so I can't harp on it too much. Something I will harp on is the inclusion of the Gal Pals, or more specifically, their role in the movie. They feel like plot convenience in the most obvious way ever. You're telling me Karen consumed all of the Bikini Bottom but magically missed those three? A simple solution would have been to take a few minutes out of the film to show them at the movies. Have them take notice of Karen going AWOL. It's something so simple, but it would have made all the difference in having everything flow properly. I've been yapping for so long and I haven't even talked about arguably the biggest thing yet. The animation. The art and animation in this movie really isn't anything to write home about. None of the 3D content in any SpongeBob movie moves me. Okay, I lied. The 3D animation in Sponge on the Run was genuinely well done. It played with the FPS and the actual movement of the characters complemented the film. That's not really present here though. The animation feels really cheap even for a Netflix movie. It feels almost too smooth, which sometimes takes away the feeling of weight behind any of the characters' motions. It's not all bad. There's these 2D animated segments when Plankton's backstory is being shown and it looks really good. Though I feel like it did more harm than anything, because I couldn't help but wonder how good this movie could have looked had we gotten most of it in 2D. Thinking back to the first two SpongeBob movies, the 2D sections were just perfect. I wish we had gotten that here. It definitely would have elevated this film to a higher tier. It also might have created more replay value as people would look back on it more fondly. But as it stands, it'll probably be remembered as an okay SpongeBob movie with horrible animation, which feels disingenuous because I do think it's more than that. It successfully shined light on one of the more slept on characters in the show. It also provided us with more insight into the mind of Plankton and who he is as a character, and I can honestly say I enjoyed it. With that being said, I'm giving Plankton the movie a 6.2 out of 10. It was a step in the right direction for sure. They should consider letting Mr. Lawrence help write a few more projects, cause clearly he knows better than everyone else. I think I speak for the vast majority when I say that after this, there really shouldn't be any more movies, at least for a while. Get in that weight room and exercise your creative muscles a little bit. I get that this franchise is Nickelodeon's bread and butter, but they've already squeezed it of almost every last drop. It's looking like SpongeBob at the end of the first movie. Dry, dying, but somehow still hanging on. We out, y'all.